Hello everyone. I have a special video today. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite book collections that I have. A book collector, and I particularly love the really beautiful ones. Let me grab them for you. Quite a few people probably recognize these. They were described as some of the most beautiful books produced in recent years. Move these out of the way. Push that one up here. These are the, as you can see, F. Scott Fitzgerald foil print books that Penguin came out with in 2011. There's 7 of them. They're designed by the award-winning book cover artist and designer Coralie Bickford Smith. Didn't want to get the name wrong. Quite a beautiful collection here. Trying to be careful. Foil does unfortunately scratch off pretty easily. These are the edges here. Oh, like that. That one, unfortunately, is a bit of a boo-boo. See what I can do to possibly fix that. Probably not a lot I can do, unfortunately. Now, Coralie, I'm just going to call her Bickford Smith. Bickford Smith is an award-winning book cover artist. She won 2015 for the Waterstones Book of the Year for The Fox and the Star. She also created those beautiful cloth-bound series that Penguin came out with. Penguin Classics. I'm sure you've seen those if you've ever been in a Barnes & Noble. A very sought-after collection. A lot more books than the 7 here. Not sure how many, but it's quite a few. These are of course, some of the prettiest ones made. A little boo-boo there. It's okay. You're looking to get a collection. Can't really go wrong with these, especially if you like the author and his work. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Talk a little bit about him. We'll talk about the books a little bit more. He was a famous American author, born in 1896, and named after Francis Scott Key, who wrote the poem, which is the American national anthem. The Star Spangled Banner is based. And he married Zelda Sayre, and she is described as the first American flapper. Marriage wasn't really a happy one. He drank a lot, fought a lot, cheat on each other. But out of that came quite a few good books and stories. I think the only thing this collection is really missing is Zelda's work itself. When she did write quite a few short stories. I believe she started a book. I don't think she finished. Her work's hard to come by, unfortunately. Yeah. Also a part of the what they call the Lost Generation, which is expatriate community, and it included Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein. Funny thing about The Great Gatsby, didn't really do that well financially, but it's held up as one of the great American novels. So, if at first you don't succeed, might write the great American novel, be remembered nearly forever anyway. Small chance of that, but you never know. Guess we could talk about the books a little bit. They're kind of the star of the show here. Start with The Beautiful and the Damned. Not his first book. Forget which order everything comes in. Actually, kind of have them in my own order, so they look a particular way on the shelf. This one has a beautiful, delicate fan pattern on it. Quite beautiful. Nice shine there. Let's take a look at this, shall we? Each book in this collection comes with its own bookmark. You could take out, it's perforated there. Has the same design. This bookmark right there. Has the same design as the cover. And a quote from the story. This one is to Anthony. Life was a struggle against death that waited at every corner. Lovely. So, this one is more or less based on Zelda and F. Scott's life together. The description that I read recently said, beautiful but damned marriage of Anthony and Gloria, the essence of jazz age glamour. I read this, oh gosh, it was years ago. It was very good. Kind of sad though. Don't know what this, oop. Can tell I haven't quite gotten around to reading these copies. It's on my to-do list. To read list, rather. Love this typeface. I don't know which one it is. Probably says it in the beginning somewhere. Let's take a look. Jeff Dyer, print of Penguin Books. There's that. Says, alright. Print of England. First published 1922. Hope and encouragement. That's right, this came out in more than one book. I don't know the exact history of how books were originally printed. They seem to rarely be bound together all the time. They have books instead of all together. It's a fairly recent development in the industry. There's you. Sad thing about Zelda and F. Scott, everyone calls him F. Scott. I believe he actually just liked to be called Scott. He didn't really like his first name. Probably too patriotic and that kind of thing. Wasn't a traditionalist. He died pretty young age, unfortunately. 44. Heart attack. And then Zelda, unfortunately, died 7 years later, age 47, in her hospital where she was staying because she was diagnosed as schizophrenic. Hospital in North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, if I remember correctly. She died when it caught fire. So that's unfortunate. They've lost quite a bit of her letters and F. Scott's letters, actually. Not too many of hers. He managed to keep most of hers, so you can find them. But hers are very few and far between, unfortunately. Nancy Milford actually made a biography in 1970 of her, nominated for the Pulitzer Prize. Of course, that one is hard to come by. Not this one. Going for it anyway. Flappers and Philosophers. This one is a group. See that pattern right there? It's so beautiful. Gosh, I love these books. This one is actually a whole collection of all of Scott Fitzgerald's short stories put in one book. A little bit tinier print than the last one. Beautiful though. There's the quote and bookmark. He was in one sense the richest man that ever lived, and yet was he worth anything at all? It's a quandary. As you can see, I started reading that one. It has all of his most famous short stories. Bernice bobs her hair. It's actually quite good. I remember reading that one. It's exactly how teenage girls could treat each other. Not very nicely, but very good story. Of course, there's the Tales of the Jazz Age, which all of these stories are also in this book. But I couldn't not get the whole collection. If you collect things, you'll know what I mean. Gotta get the whole thing. Especially since sometimes these are hard to come by. And what a great title. This is Two Tales of the Jazz Age. Look under the line. This one has a very different pattern than the others. It's a geometric little squares, not quite complete. Your mind kind of fills them in. Look how much it shines. So beautiful. Actually got bumped or something. A little bit of a wrinkle there. That's unfortunate. It does come with its own bookmark and quote. There's a lot of words in here. They could probably use quite a few of them. The whole scene was a colorful circus of beauty and riotous pleasure. That's lovely. Very thin. If you don't want the whole thing, easily go for that one. Not as much reading. Side of Paradise. First one. Very successful A lot of people bought copies of it. I love how it's silver. Can't remember if I read this one or not. Not this copy. But not yet, anyway. I will read them one day. All of them. It's on my to-do list. But as you can see, all the covers are the same. I looked into all of them at one point. They're all white. So, makes you a bit nervous to read them. Except for these two. These two are black. My apologies. And this one's black as well. But, these 4 white covers. And of course, you don't want the dust jackets to get ruined. That would be a travesty. If living isn't seeking for the grail, maybe a damned amusing game. Interesting. This has been described as the story of one man's painful sexual and intellectual awakening that echoes Fitzgerald's own career. Interesting. We have go with the one that he's most known for. Love the copper. So different. Not too different, obviously. You want them to look good together. Of course, this is most famous. Gatsby seems to have everything, but is hiding a silent longing for one thing that will always be out of his reach. Isn't that the truth? Poor Gatsby. Of course, probably one of the most famous lines ever written, put into print. So we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Very beautiful book, of course, not a very long one. I highly recommend it. It's very different, obviously a classic, and pretty short. Read somewhere once. Kid had to take extracurriculars, and he picked The Great Gatsby because it was the shortest book on the list, and fell in love with it, and then fell in love with reading all over again. So that's nice. This one is Fitzgerald's last book. Never got to finish it, which is why it's so short. Thin volume. Might as well show you the black cover. This one's a lot wider. It's like a river. I wonder if that symbolizes anything. I haven't read this one. It's a hard choice when you have to read. Or you don't have to, but it's whether you want to read a book you know just isn't done. So there's no satisfying conclusion, unfortunately. Just sort of make up your own story. There's Charles Dickens had Edwin Drood. Forgot the whole title, but it's a long one. But they made a Broadway version of it, play, and they get the audience participating, have them pick an ending they'd like to see, and then they perform it, which is nice. Gives it a whole other life to a story, and then they get a conclusion. So that's kind of nice. I don't know if this will ever have its own. It would be really interesting if they did that. It's, of course, about Hollywood. This was written his last years of life when he was trying to be a screenwriter. It's about the about the glittering decadence of Hollywood in its heyday. Of course, Hollywood doesn't like to take material that doesn't have a satisfactory ending already built in, as it were. But they could probably do something like Clue and develop more than one ending and then just shoot it out different theaters. It'd be fun. Especially nowadays. See different versions of it. That'd be cool. At both ends of life, man needed nourishment. A breast, a shrine, something to lay himself beside. Very interesting. Very different. And this one is quite possibly one of the most romantic titles ever. Tender is the night. Very from Reddit. So I have no idea what it's about. I'm assuming it's romantic. But I've been wrong before. F. Scott is kind of a pessimist, so who knows? One day I will read this. You're the only girl I've seen for a very long time that actually did look like something blooming. Wow, compliment. That one title kind of reminds me of Cole Porter's In the Still of the Night. Sort of like that whole romantic the night thing. And the song itself is beautiful, or at least how they did it in that movie, The Lovely, which, if you like the 20s, you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. It's Kevin Kline in it, does his own piano work. He plays Cole Porter. Absolutely wonderful, fun movie. Obviously kind of sad, but because, life. Circles on here. Kind of like they did here with the lines. Let's read the description for this one, shall we? Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. This one is a novel of materialism, shattered idealism, and broken dreams set on the French Riviera. So you'll be sad, but it'll also be in a beautiful setting. Pretty much Fitzgerald in a handbag. That's my collection. Going to set them up, kind of see what they look like on the shelf. Of course, I'm trying to be careful. Foil print. Just one of those people who tries to be careful. Of course, I'm going back and forth here. White, black, white, black. Okay. Almost done it here. Okay, gotcha. There you go. Beautiful. Yeah, kind of a bookworm. Like my bookshelf to be pretty, so this is perfect. Of course, if you want your own copies, I will provide links, or affiliate links in the description. Yeah, if you like his work, or you just want to show off your bookshelf, highly recommend this collection. Can't really go wrong. Thank you for visiting my channel. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.